Coming up on Gameball College Kickoff, Mike and I do a review of last week's football forecast in our first segment. In our second segment, the top 5 is out. We discuss who's number 1. In our third segment, as always, the football forecast. Coming up, Gameball College Kickoff.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. It's your boy, Mike O'Reilly.
And I'm Luke Hartnett.
And we're holding out for our brother once again, doing daddy things. Shout out to his son, Josiah. Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
And let's get it started with the forecast recap. Week 7, Oklahoma 34, Texas 27 in the Red River rivalry. Break it down.
This game actually went about as much according to plans as I thought it would. I had Oklahoma, I believe, 38-30 right in that realm right there. So Oklahoma, they, if I'm not mistaken, they never trailed, did they? They led wire to wire, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
So they had a firm grasp on there. If Oklahoma, we're going to talk about this more in our second segment, when they play, should they make the playoffs and they get to play some of the better teams, i.e. Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, etc., they're going to need to get some special teams plays, and they have to get some turnovers, because I don't think Oklahoma is quite good enough to beat teams just straight up offense and defense. I mean, I know CeeDee Lamb made a couple of plays there on the special teams game against Clemson. Against Texas, he had it over the weekend. But yeah, I mean, at Texas, they showed strong. This is probably going to be part 1 of a part 2 series for the second year in a row. I don't see anyone in the Big 12 interfering with the rematch. And but this game went about as according to plans as I thought it would.
Well, give it up for Oklahoma's defense for stepping up and making plays where they need.
They looked a lot better against that Texas offense than LSU did.
Yes, they did. Give it up to them for stepping up when they need to. That at times they had issues, but they was able to keep big plays from Texas offense in check, and Oklahoma offense did what they did, and Coach Lincoln Riley wanted to get the running game going, and he established that with a 2-headed monster running back that he had. CeeDee Lamb balled out for over 10 catches, 171 yards. And Jalen Hurts did what Jalen Hurts. He's pretty much the front runner for the Heisman. Texas, I was high on it this year, but looks like they're not going to make it to college football playoffs. So they got to at least prepare, get back to the drawing board, and don't take any teams for granted. All right, moving on. Penn State 17, Iowa 12. Break it down.
I had Penn State 17-10, so just about nailed that one too. Couple of last 3 or 4 years these two teams have played, it's just been this is a relatively lower scoring game. Last year was 30-24 Penn State. But no, I mean, you can kind of tell what I was wanting to do. They had the same game plan against Michigan the week before, where they lost 10-3. Lost this one 17. So only 1 touchdown the last 2 games for Iowa. They're kind of struggling on the offensive side of the ball. They never really have gotten the playmakers. And one thing I alluded to when I was talking about Oklahoma earlier was special teams and defense and whatever, turnovers. If Iowa can't generate those against teams like Michigan, like Penn State, they struggle to win.
Well, with the problem with Iowa, as you alluded to, is their offense. Their offense can't get it going, but their defense is good enough to keep them in games. It kept them against Michigan, and it kept them against Penn State, but it's just the productivity of offense costing the last 2 games.
I mean, they only put 18 on Iowa State, and they only won that game because Iowa State couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah. Iowa has a lot of work to do offensively. They got to make some adjustments, some line adjustments, and get some more points going like we normally do. It's just been a tough pain to swallow the last 2 weeks. And tough pill to swallow the last 2 weeks. The one against Michigan, one against Penn State, and they got to go back to the drawing board. Penn State, it was a tough fought game for them. They did a good job offensively when they needed to make plays. Defense stepped up big because we're not used to seeing Penn State defense doing like this, but they stepped up what they need to in a very hostile environment, got the job done, got the win, moving on undefeated against Michigan.
Penn State, they got Michigan coming up. They still have a date with Ohio State as well. Iowa, they still have games against both unbeatens, Minnesota and Wisconsin. So a lot of challenges for both teams ahead. Moving on, we got USC losing at Notre Dame 30-27. Go ahead and break this one down, Mike.
Well, Notre Dame just pretty much dominated this game from start to finish. Running the ball effectively, making plays to pass the game consistently in defense. They did what they did, but except giving up for 27 points. They was up early on USC, but they kind of let the foot off the gas. They didn't stay as aggressive. And luckily, they was able to make more plays to win the game. USC was struggling offensively, was able to slow down and recuperate and get the troops back together. They was on a score rampage or so somewhat. Just coming back the game at the end, they didn't make enough plays to win that game.
Yeah, I was really impressed with USC in the way they was able to come back. They fell behind 20-3 fairly early in the third quarter. And they got it to, they either had it tied up or got it within 23-20, one way or the other, but ultimately losing by 3 points there at the end. But, USC, they just had a 3-0 lead at the end of one. That second quarter just kind of got away from them. And then Notre Dame wasted no time adding another touchdown at the start of the third. So just a little too much for you. I mean, you can kind of come back against, middle-tier teams. Notre Dame, they're what number 9 right now? It's hard to fall behind 17 points on the road to a top 10 football team. All
right, Florida 28, LSU 42. Break it down.
Yeah, I had Florida winning this one mainly for I was impressed with their defensive front, but they I don't remember a Dan Mullen Florida team ever getting even when he was a defensive coordinator under Urban Meyer there. I think they had one sack in the game there, gave up 42 points. Very, very not Florida-like. LSU, you put 42 on Florida, you did something. They did some work that game. I'm really impressed with LSU. And I tell you what, a lot of people was drinking the Kool-Aid with them preseason. Then they went to Texas. They looked really good. Put 45 on Texas there week 2. But Texas has always been at least for the last 5 to 7 years, they kind of been Texas is back. No, they're not. One of those things. So it's kind of holding off judgment there, but LSU they're looking like a really good football team. They're championship good.
I expected a lot of points to be put up, especially LSU offensively. They're just like an offensive juggernaut that can't be stopped. The running game, the passing game, the receivers and tight ends, everybody's contributing, making plays. Defensively, was able to make some turnovers of stopping Florida from scoring. So no more Gator chop, it's Gator claw. That's what the LSU Tigers did. And Florida, they got to go back to the drawing board because they got Missouri coming up. They got Georgia coming up. They want to win the East. So they can't overlook any opponents. They got to clean up the mess that they made, offense, defense, and special teams, and clean up the mistakes and penalties. They could still with the East now.
I was going to say, it wouldn't be a huge surprise if these two teams play again.
No, it wouldn't bother me, but I will make one point. If LSU beats Alabama in a couple weeks, they're winning it all. Now, I said that before, and I'll say it again. And that will do it for our first segment. Second segment, we're going to break down the top 5 teams and who is our number 1 team in the country. Who do we think? Coming back, Gameball College Kickoff will return.
What's happening, everyone?
Welcome back to Gameball College Kickoff for the football season never ends. Segment number 2. As of right now, here are the top 5 teams in the nation: Alabama, LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Which team do you think is the best team right now?
I think Clemson's the best team right now. Heavy's the head that wears the crown. They're the defending champions. They have a starting quarterback that's never lost. They've won 21 in a row. And all of a sudden, that close calling against North Carolina is not looking so bad after all. North Carolina, you may recall, beat South Carolina in Charlotte week 1. We all know what South Carolina did over the weekend. Went to Athens, beat Georgia 2 overtimes there. So maybe having a tussle with the Tar Heels wasn't all the doom and gloom everyone was making it out to be. For me, it's Clemson. The answer is always Clemson. Number 2, I got LSU because they just got really impressive wins over Texas and Florida. Alabama will get their crack at them. But I think the thing that kind of I find to be bizarre about this is Alabama and LSU. When you think back to the Les Miles days at LSU, I mean they had the one game it was 9-6. It's not going to be 9-6 this year. It might be like that Oklahoma West Virginia game from a year or two ago where it's like 59-56. I mean both those teams can really move the ball. Both teams a little more suspect than I thought they would be on the defensive side. I got Ohio State number 4. And I'm sorry to really diss Oklahoma like this. I think Wisconsin's number 5. I'd actually put them ahead of OU.
Well, right now,
Wisconsin 4 shutouts in 6 games.
That is true. Right now, my number 1 overall team is LSU. There ain't nothing against Clemson. They are reigning defending champions. But for me, I look at the schedule-wise. They had much tougher schedule than Alabama and Clemson. Who has really they played? Nobody. LSU has played Texas, and they have played Florida, and they both beat LSU beat both of those teams down. And number 2, I would have to put Clemson there, and number 3, I'm gonna have to say Alabama, and 4 and 5, I'll keep Ohio State and LSU because Ohio State and Oklahoma because Oklahoma is impressive. But their defense is still suspect. And Ohio State, they're just going to get better and better. And their defenses look like it's about to take off. Because the last 2 games I saw, especially Chase Young, they are getting after it. But overall, right now, my number 1 team is LSU till proven wise. Because they straight up are balling right now.
Here's the thing that concerns me about that, though. LSU, they had to play Alabama. They had to play Auburn. Alabama has to play LSU. They have to play Auburn as well. I think Auburn's going to get one or the other there. Ohio State, they may have to play Wisconsin twice. They get them next week in Columbus. They also have to play Penn State. They finished the year at Michigan. Assuming they win the East, they'll be in the Big Ten Championship, presumably against Wisconsin again. And, Clemson, who's beating them between now and the playoff?
I don't know, but
they get South Carolina into the year. Now, South Carolina, that game just got a whole lot more interesting after this past weekend, but they should at least win the game.
And I hear you, but Clemson, they are the reigning defending champions, but I'm just going off schedule, right? And LSU has a little bit more tougher schedule than Clemson, or otherwise, if Clemson had LSU, Alabama, and all the other schedules, hands down. And I think they need to schedule Clemson more tougher competition early in the season so that way they won't get dinged for their scheduling. It's not their fault.
The SEC needs to figure out a way to get rid of Vanderbilt and head Clemson in there.
Exactly.
Oh, my God, how good would that be?
Right. All right, that will do it for our second segment. Coming back, our third segment, the forecast week 8 prediction picks. So stay tuned. Gameball College Kickoff coming right up.
What's happening, everyone?
Welcome back to Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. Third segment, Week 8 forecast, matchups, and predictions. LSU versus Mississippi State. Let's go.
LSU, they should just, I know the game's at Starkville. I know there's a possibility of a letdown after a big win over Florida this past weekend. But, I mean, if LSU's going to be that team, if they're going to be number 2, if they're going to be everything you just said in our last segment there, then they should roll. They should just absolutely rip Mississippi State limb from limb in this one.
And I agree. LSU, top to bottom, offense, defense, and special teams is much more talented than Mississippi State. Granted, Mississippi State is at home, and home advantage does play somewhat away. But if I'm LSU, I'm not overlooking Mississippi State. You got to stay intact, stay disciplined, and don't make mistakes. Mississippi State, you're going to have to come out of the box to beat LSU. Come out offensively with some wrinkles here or there to expose their defense. And defensively, you're going to have to ball against a top 5 LSU offense, and the quarterback is balling his lights out. The receivers, tight ends, running backs, you name it. So if Mississippi State, they can win those 3 things, offense, defense, and special teams, they have a chance to win at home. All right, Baylor on the road against Oklahoma State. Break it down.
Oklahoma State, they've had, I believe they were off this past weekend. Their last time out, they lost at Texas Tech, so they having been dealing with that loss for the last 2 weeks after what I thought was an impressive win over K-State the week before. Stillwater's just kind of a weird place to play for other conference teams. I mean, just some of the more bizarre games in the Big 12 happen there. I don't know if it's because of Gundy and what he's doing on there, with the offensive side of the ball and everything, but just I don't know, Stillwater's like the Bermuda Triangle of the Big 12. And I mean, Baylor's still undefeated. They might be that one team that could maybe sneak into that Big 12 championship game. They're going to need things to break their way, but they are unbeaten.
Well, Baylor, they coming off a nail biter against Texas Tech at home, and on third down, they was able to. They should have won that game in regulation, and the wide receiver didn't drop the pass, and it was just. Overall, offensively, they had some struggles with the 3 turnovers and all that, but they got the running game going, and they was able to make some plays in the passing game, and the quarterback led the way. Now, defensively, you got to do a lot of cleaning up because they gave us some big runs against Texas Tech. So if you can eliminate those things, offense, defense, and special teams, you could win. Now, for Oklahoma State, they had a sour taste loss in their mouth, and with that loss against Texas Tech, Gundy, it was hell week, bye week and this week. He ain't letting that slide. He ain't letting that up. So I believe they'll get back to the drawing board and get things going offensively. They didn't look impressive against Texas Tech, so they will find a way.
Fell too far behind too soon.
Yeah, I know they'll find a way to fix their mistakes defensively. You got to play better. If they can fix those 2 areas, they'll win at home.
Oklahoma State 1-2 in the conference. They really need this to stay in the thick of things. Moving on to the Pac-12. Raise your hands if you saw Arizona State and Utah as a bigger game this weekend than Washington and Oregon. I mean, this is the game of the Pac-12 this weekend. I mentioned Oregon. They're at Seattle to play Washington, but Washington's kind of underperformed for the most part. Oregon's kept it rolling since opening week. Arizona State, though, more back to our marquee game here at Utah. Utah has only lost to 1 game to USC, and Arizona State, their only loss was to Cal, both respectable teams.
Arizona State is playing some good ball right now. Herm Edwards, give it up to him. He has completely changed that.
He's doing a lot better than I thought he would, though, I got to admit. I thought he was going to do okay. I didn't think he'd be like an epic failure, but he's doing really well. Really well.
Well, he has adapted to this new generation of football players, but he's still that old school mentality. He established that culture, and he gets his players to buy into it. So far, they are buying into it. Last year, there was a bowl game. This year, they're 5-1, another bowl game. So Arizona State is clicking. If they continue to click like that, offense, defense, and special teams, and stop Utah, they'll get a big win on the road. For Utah, go back to what you was doing. play in smash mouth football, run the ball, ground and pound, and play physical defense. And special teams don't make mistakes. If you do that, you win at home.
And game of the weekend, if you ask me, one-loss Michigan at unbeaten Penn State. Going to be a whiteout in Happy Valley. What are you looking forward to in this one?
Well, how will Michigan's defense stop Penn State's offense? Because a few weeks ago, they got slaughtered at Wisconsin, and that is not going to get let up anytime soon. Offensively, they have to get better. Illinois, you had kind of expect that, but you've seen some flashes. If they could duplicate what they did against Illinois offensively, the defense is going to be stout. But offensively, if you could do that, they can win this thing. Now, for Penn State, you had a nail-biter game on the road, but now you're at home. You got to regroup, learn from film what you did wrong, offense and defense, and get back at it and try to score some points and stop the opposing offenses. If Penn State can do that, more likely they'll win at home.
Yeah, Michigan, they had a 28-0 lead on Illinois. I believe there was a blocked punt that set up either resulted in a touchdown or set up a short field for a touchdown. But Illinois got that to 28-25 in the fourth quarter before Michigan scored a couple of late touchdowns to put it away. So the game was getting out of hand for the better part of the second half on them. You mentioned the Wisconsin game earlier. Penn State and Wisconsin, very similar, except Penn State doesn't have Jonathan Taylor. They don't have Saquon Barkley like they did a few years ago. They don't have that super dynamic playmaker that Wisconsin does. So I think Michigan will be able to hang in this one a little bit longer.
All right, it's predictions time. LSU, Mississippi State.
I'm going to go LSU in this one, 41-17. I think they score early and often. I think 41-17 is kind of being nice. Mississippi State, they rebounded from their non-conference loss to K-State with a win over Kentucky the following week. But since then, they just got blasted by Auburn. They lost to Tennessee 20-10 over the weekend. The last month has been about as bad for Mississippi State as it's been good for LSU. So I'm going 41-17 LSU with a rather easy fourth quarter where starters sit.
Well, I'm going to go with LSU and Mississippi State. You kind of got to give them a pass because they are dealing with a lot of injuries, especially on the offensive side. Losing some their starting quarterback, had to put in a true freshman, but said that done. But I'm going with LSU to win big. Nothing else. I'm gonna say 43-15.
Mississippi State lost so many guys to the draft on defense last year. It's clearly caught up to them. Moving on, we got Baylor at Oklahoma State. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma State in this one. It's Stillwater. Like I said, they're 1-2. It's kind of a bizarre place to play. Baylor, they looked really good. You mentioned the Texas Tech game over the weekend. They looked really good, especially the second half at K-State the week before that. They did blow a 20-0 lead against Iowa State. They had to kick a game-winning field goal as time expired and went 23-21. Just think their luck has run out. And again, Stillwater's can't put it into words. It's just a murky place for opponents. So I'm going to go 31-27 Oklahoma State.
I'm going to join that bandwagon. Go Pokes. However you do it. History repeats itself. When teams are ranked and go into Oklahoma State, 9 times out of 10, they'll lose. So I'm picking Oklahoma State to have a bounce-back game and get the win at home against Baylor. I just don't see Baylor doing enough to beat Oklahoma State. Now, this is a very hostile, tough environment to play. Oklahoma State is going to come ready to play. They're going to get physical. They're going to win the time of possession and run the ball and play good defense and be consistent in the passing game offensively. Baylor, I think their luck is run out. So I'm going to say Oklahoma State wins on a late field goal, 27-24.
I think Baylor tries too hard to stop Chuba Hubbard this week. I'm not expecting too big of a week from him, but I think Oklahoma State's going to adjust, take advantage of other playmakers they have there. Moving on to our Pac-12 matchup, Arizona State at Utah. Who do you like in this one?
I like the Sun Devils to win this one, Arizona State. It just seems like Herm Edwards got them boys clicking on all cylinders and playing some good football. I just like the way Arizona State has been played. He really clean house and really change that culture for that football program. Utah, it's going to be a close, but I see Arizona State doing a little bit more than Utah to win this game. Utah, don't sleep on them. They are a very good physical fundamental team, but I think Arizona State just gets the edge a little bit. I'm going to say 20-17 Arizona State gets it done on the road.
Kyle Whittingham's going to have them ready to go, and Utah has to have this. Arizona State still gets USC to play this year. Utah, they lost to them so far. So if Utah can pull it off, they're going to be Arizona State fans when that game happens. That's for sure. And I think Utah pulls it off by the narrowest of margins. I got the Utes 21-20.
Ooh, a nail biter.
An absolute nail biter.
All right, Michigan versus Penn State. Let's get it.
Penn State going to be a night game, the ABC primetime game, the whiteout, 110,000, Beaver Stadium, everything that makes college football what it is. The navy and blue of Penn State, the wingtip helmets of Michigan. It's just going to be college football at its finest. But I expect, outside of Ohio State participating in a game, I expect for the most part games in the teens, games in the low 20s between most of these Big Ten matchups. I'm going to go Penn State in this one by a 21-13 margin.
I picked Michigan and it backfired. But if I pick against Penn State, this is my backfire. I don't care. I'm going with Michigan. Some tells me that Michigan will do just a little bit enough offensively to win this game. I just have a hunch when that happens. And I think they learned from their mistakes against Wisconsin after being shut out. So I'm going to go with Michigan to get a very close win on the road, a dogfight game. I'm going to say 17-14 Michigan over Penn State.
Michigan's got another big one next week. They play Notre Dame. So back-to-back big ones for the Wolverines. It's a tough road to hoe for them.
All right, that will do it for Gameball College Kickoff. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Gmail, YouTube, all on the right side you can follow, and that'll be on your left side. Please make sure to get on our clothing line website. You can get your gear at gameballshop.ecwid.com. That's gameballshop.ecwid.com. And you can't forget our other brother who couldn't make it today, Marcus Young Genius Jenkins. You can follow him Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Jovel NT, all in one word. And I'm going to pass it on to Luke.
Find me on Facebook at Luke Hartnett. Find me on Twitter at Luke Hartnett2.
I'm Michael Riley.
And I'm Luke Hartnett.
This is Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out, and see you next week.